Perfect Game College Baseball. Hunter and I had a blast along with David Ronsley and Danny Wexman calling the All-American Classic on ESPN. We reconvene a couple days later, Hunter, to talk with some really unique college stories. Number one, Caleb LomavIta at Cal, a catcher coming through the Perfect Game system, but coming from Hawaii. He played great at the Cape. I know you're going to get inside his head about hitting a little bit.
Well, yeah, he's got a very unique, dynamic swing. He's got the leg kick. He's got a beautiful short stroke and swing, and he crushed it in the Cape. He's got a wonderful smile, personality. He's a catcher, player of the year in Hawaii in high school, and just doing great things. What a bright future. Very excited to talk some baseball and hear about his journey this summer in the first year at college D1 baseball.
The one thing I love about partnering with you on anything is you're incredibly progressive, always with one foot in history and respecting those that came before you. You do it very, very, very well. And Tracy Woodson is kind of that guy. He's very deep into history. He's a little more old school. He lets his coaches do the modern stuff, his assistant coaches. But I'm excited for you to connect with Tracy Woodson, a baseball lifer.
Oh, I love the old school. I was old school mentality for a long time. Obviously, you got to pay attention and respect the numbers and the data. And to me, it's a balance of the two. But the old school just gets me fired up. I'm a big believer in fighting the good fight and just playing good old hard-nosed baseball. And Tracy, he's got that good old boy. He's been around. He's seen everything. Some of the greats of with the Dodgers playing with your dad. And just excited to hear his thoughts on how baseball's changed, how we can improve, and what he's been doing to have such successful offense and such a successful program in Richmond.
Yeah, the head coach at Richmond. Let's get this show going. Hunter and I are glad you're hanging out with us on Perfect Game College Baseball. Here we go. I'm not quite sure where to go with this conversation, but I'm excited to have it. Caleb LomavIta was incredible at Cal last year, and just his first year. When you play in the pack, you deal with the rigors at Cal. That's grow up quickly time. But look, I remember this young man playing at St. Louis High School. Heck, I've called St. Louis football games on national TV from Aloha Stadium, so I'm well versed in the culture and the expectations that Caleb LomavIta plays under. Hunter and I are glad to talk with him about what he has accomplished, especially in the Cape. Caleb, thanks for hanging out with Hunter and I. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me today.
So a freshman year at Cal, man, that's a grind if you're just studying. If that's all you're doing is studying. You also played baseball. Not only did you play baseball, but you performed. You had a really strong year. Kind of walk me through the initial stages in the fall, getting into the spring, and enjoying the season that you did, along with the academics, Caleb.
Well, fortunately for me, at Cal, there's a lot of resources that I have on the academic side. So I had a lot of tutors, I had a lot of teachers that helped me, and understand that as a student athlete, it wasn't easy. So they worked with me. I was in the classroom a lot, so I had to do sometimes extra work because I was gone for most of the time. And it was just all about time management and, as you said, growing up quickly and maturing. So that was kind of a hard part for me. I struggled. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. But for the baseball aspect, there was a lot of people helping me out. We had Dylan Beavers, Nathan Martorella, and Cole Elvis as my kind of mentor as a catcher, and they just made it so easy for me. From day one, they took me in under their wing. They knew what kind of talent I had, and they knew I had potential. So they kept pushing me every day. They brought me out to early work, extra lifts, workouts, everything they did. They just took me with them, and they showed me the way to become a better athlete than I was before. So that I'm really appreciative of them.
Well, Caleb, I want to expand on that a little bit. I had a couple other questions, but it's exciting to hear the mentorship, and obviously, you know, Player of the Year in Hawaii, won the state championship, Gatorade Player of the Year. So, you know, great talent coming over to the mainland. What did when they take you to the weight room and they're doing the mentorship, what were some of the things that you really picked up from them and learned that you didn't expect to learn?
I think the biggest thing I learned was you're not going to want to do it every day. And once you get over that mindset that you have to do it, you have to stay disciplined, you have to stay on the grind, and no matter how hard it gets, it's all about that consistency of the work that you put in. So that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from there.
Man, Caleb, I think that's a perfect answer because consistency pays off in the long run. I'm glad you're learning that lesson now, and that's just a huge lesson for any job and anything, especially baseball. So let's dive in, Caleb, to your summer because you had a great summer in the Cape. What did you go into the Cape like looking to get out of it? Like, what did you set out to do, and what did you walk away with now that you've had a great summer as a freshman in the Cape?
In the Cape, I actually saw my contract. I said, wow, I'm going to go to the Cape for this summer as a freshman going into my sophomore year. And I was scared. I was scared a bit, but nerves kind of settled once I got there. I met all the boys. I realized they were just like me, just young teenage baseball players who love playing baseball. And once I started playing, everything started to fall into piece. When I took my first swing, you know how it goes, right, Hunter? You take your first swing and your body just takes over. There's a time in the Cape where I started struggling and I needed to think about that consistency every day. So I was at early hitting every day. I was still lifting in the weight room, and it kind of paid off for me. So I'm proud of myself.
It's incredible what goes on when you get that opportunity and you go to work. By the way, this is a streaming show. I always laugh because this young man and I a couple years ago got together. There's the archive of our interview on SoundCloud on SiriusXM. I've been knowing Caleb for quite a few years. So when you dealt with the shutdown of the pandemic, California was tough, and you're there now. The Northeast was tough, and Hawaii was not far off from like an island nation like Australia. It was very, very challenging. Yet 3 times you got on a plane that final summer or that final fall, and you went to Florida. You went to play in Arizona. How much did that help you to get off to where you could maybe play a little bit more? I know you were working out, but how much did that help you to travel to the States to play in those PG events?
It helped out a lot. Every time I travel, I just grow and I mature a lot more than I would have if I stayed home. And luckily for me, during the pandemic, I got to spend a lot of time with my family, and we were stuck in the house. It's not that I got sick of them, but I knew I had to get off the islands, and I had to play some baseball because being cooped up in a house, it didn't sit right for me, knowing that there were opportunities out there for me to get better and be seen by those scouts.
Yeah, it's interesting for you, and I want to specifically talk about that stop in Fort Myers when you won the World Wood Bat Association World Championship with that GBG group. And I know you'll tell me, look, my numbers weren't what I wanted them to be, but I'm guessing it was a wonderful team-building experience for you to win that event, which is really hard to win. As you well know, it's really hard to win. That lone event, that Jupiter event, what was that like for you?
That was a great experience. It was so exciting when we won. The guys were great. I still know them to this day. Some at Vandy, some in the pack, and they were great guys. I love to be around them. Some of them are in the minors right now, balling out. I see them. They made that experience great because I know I wasn't doing well. They were balling out. I was just grinding back there as a catcher, doing my work on defense. Bat wasn't coming around, but it was fun. It was overall a great experience.
Well, Caleb, your bat's been coming around lately. You had a great freshman year at Cal and a wonderful Cape hitting 300 out there. But I want to talk a little bit about, let's get into the nitty gritty because I've gotten to watch a couple of your swings. It's impressive. You got the leg kick. Let's start with that. And you say you're out there at early work. You're hitting in the Cape. You're putting in the work in college. So was the leg kick natural for you? And is it like changing and developing? Because I feel like I saw one swing where it was a little bit bigger and it looked like it got toned down a little bit. But regardless of that, just take us through the leg kick a little bit, Caleb.
Funny story. I actually never had a leg kick until my senior year. I just wanted to hit bombs, and young 17-year-old me just thought that it was going to help me hit farther balls, and it felt comfortable for me to just narrow myself up and kind of get my timing mechanism as a leg kick. There were coaches who tried to make tweaks to my swing, and there was some coaches who didn't like my swing at all. But I just took what I could from every coach. I listened, and whatever worked, I used it, and I applied it into my swing. So that's pretty much why my swing is how it is now.
Okay, so it was just like in high school, I'm going to get tall because you are narrow, you stand tall. Your leg kick is great because you don't really back up. And to me, I'm a fan of the leg kick. There's all many different ways, but it's about knowing the timing of the leg kick, and that's what can get confusing, and it can mess with your timing. But you're in an athletic position. Like when you take a leg kick, let's say you're on fastball, you ride it, boom. You get change up, you just ride it a little longer, boom, or off speed. So you really mastered it. Have you tried to change it? What do you know when you're starting the leg kick, or is it just natural for you?
It's natural. I don't know what I think in the box. I do my work, tee work. I change it a little, I tweak it. But once I get into the box, it's something has to take over, and it just happens.
Okay. I got to dive into one other question I was thinking about because you've been in the Cape and you did the Pac-12 as a freshman, and this is a question that people will ask me a lot when I was playing. What's the nastiest pitch you've seen so far, Caleb? Can you know the pitcher or the nastiest pitch you've seen?
I'm not really good at names, but there were a bunch of pitchers who this summer had a lot of ball with high spin rates, and that fastball at the top of the zone is by far the hardest pitch to hit, because I can start to see sliders away from righties, but now that people are getting higher spin rates and throwing harder, that fastball at the top of the zone that I was able to hit in high school and when I was younger, it's getting a little harder now, so I had to get a little stronger and a little faster.
What does he do with that pitch, Hunter? What do you do with that fastball at the top of the zone? There's no way I'm not going to let you still have the floor here.
The opposite of getting stronger and faster, the harder they throw, the less you got to do, my friend. And it's a light, it's short to it because it's going to supply the pop. So if it's doing this, so your bat path is coming through kind of like this, which will crush sliders, will crush down in the zone. But if you know someone's doing this and you're anticipating it, your bat path needs to be flat, right? So it's going to be planing out high. Your bat path flattens out, so do your leg kick and you anticipate it and you just go boom. You don't get more muscly or add anything or get stronger, you do less. It's like gentle, just boom, just touch it. Because the harder they throw, the harder it's going to come off. And pay attention to BP. You might hit this great homer and you're like, oh, I didn't swing that hard. You swing harder, you pop it up. It's like you got to stay in that similar, you're a Hawaiian guy, that balanced rhythm, that easy tension. Tension-free barrel release, but softer the harder they throw.
Sounds good. I'm gonna be writing down in my notebook next.
Well, this is gonna be recorded, so you're set.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I was going to give you the opportunity to ask him a question, but that made a lot of sense. When we have you two guys together, you two hitters, and you talk. And Caleb, my final question for you is just to ask you how much Little League World Series you had a chance to watch, because I understand the culture of the family culture of Hawaiian baseball. As you well know, based on your and I's conversation, through the years now, I've really enjoyed getting to know through Perfect Game the Hawaiian baseball player and their family and understand how important it is. Have you enjoyed at all catching what happened with the Little League World Series?
I did. They did so great. I'm so proud of you boys. If you're listening to this podcast, way to dominate in the big stage as a 12-year-old. They're great. I know the coaches. They're big name in Hawaii, and I kind of worked with them when I was in high school. They have this thing on their back where it says "We is greater than me," and that's where it means put the team first before yourself, and that's when you give yourself up. Be selfless on the field. You want to make plays for your team, not for yourself, and not your own individual stats. So that's where I think the team aspect really took part in why they were so dominant, because that "we is greater than me" just explains everything about that whole team and the past teams that actually won the Little League World Series.
That's amazing. Have a great fall. Have a great spring. We'll see you a bunch. Of course, I'll hop in the booth on the Pac-12 network with you guys a bunch. So Really excited with what you've accomplished, Caleb. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me, Darren. Thank you, Hunter. I'm gonna be writing that down.
Set that, if you get a machine, set the machine the high forcing and like set it up high on intentionally and just like work on the tension of it, and like you'll notice that like the shorter you get, so you have you basically already got it, but like anything, if you feel a weakness, practice it, make it your strength.
Okay. Yes, sir. Got it.
It's a perfect way to end. We'll have more on Perfect Game College Baseball on Perfect Game TV. There are many reasons we're excited about having this conversation. Some are personal for me, as this guest played with my father in the final stages of his career, and he was about to win a championship, a world championship. The other stage is a baseball program, and a good one, and one that's looking to get back to postseason play. Some unique players I know that Hunter and I want to learn about, some two-way players that are impact players as well, and Tracy Woodson joins us now, the head coach of Richmond. Tracy, thanks for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
How is it with you in the summertime with communication with your players? Because Hunter has educated me a lot. I played college and minor league baseball. I understood how impactful the summers could be if you took on a good challenge. As you've kept an eye on your players throughout the summer, have you had some positive stories of growth, some players that have gone places that they have said, you know what, Coach, I'm ready for a bigger next year?
Yeah, so we lost in the championship game this year. We watched VCU celebrate on the field with us in the dugout, and when I was having my closeout meetings, I said, guys, this is what we're going to remember next year. And I said, you need to take the summer, and improve what you need to improve on, get better, but just have that thought in your mind that, we weren't the ones celebrating. And, my wife played college basketball. She knows my players better than I do sometimes. And we've got computers set up at my house, and I've got all the tabs for all my guys when they're playing, so I can watch either a live stream or the updated scores and box scores, and just to watch every night. So I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention to anything they do, and then I'm calling my assistants. So-and-so pitched tonight, 2 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, because it may have been a kid that really struggled throwing strikes during the season. So, college is so different now than when I was in college, and, the amount of leagues that are around. I played in Cape Cod 1 year, and it's just, there's so many good leagues, and I had 2 guys play in Alaska this year, and, some of those kids aren't going to get that opportunity in their lifetime to probably go to Alaska, but it's an opportunity for them to play and get better. So, a lot of freshmen don't play now. It's hard to play as a freshman at Richmond, much less it be an NC State or a Florida State, that type. So they need to go in the summer, and they need to play summer ball and get as many at-bats and innings as they can.
Yeah, you're right about that, Tracy. Summer ball obviously is a great tool to enhance and to develop as a young athlete. But looking at your offense, you have a lot of guys coming back, and y'all hit last year. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers, and these guys can hit. So I had to ask you, Tracy, talk a little bit about kind of your thoughts on hitters hitting and how you developed such a good, well-balanced offense for last year, and now bringing a lot of these guys back, like Jason Neff and Alden as well. So, I just want to hear the offensive development and philosophy.
Yeah, so Colin Raddick is my volunteer, and he's our hitting coach. So he got up to AA. He was on the same team with Bader and all the guys with the Cardinals, and just the pro game was kind of different for him. And we took him on here, and we sat down and talked about what do we want to do. Launch angle drives me crazy. I don't believe in launch angle. I don't think for a young kid you're going to teach them to swing upward. When we're trying to have the path of the bat go through the zone as long as you can, because if you can't throw off speed and change ups and breaking balls, if you can't throw those in a college baseball game with the aluminum bat, you're not going to survive. If you got a team that's going to throw us 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and nothing else, we're going to hit it. And so are the other teams. So, we point out that we pick out the left center field and right center field, whatever if it says 365 or 385, we want to hit the ball through those numbers. Dead center, if it's 400, we want to hit the ball through that. We don't have to hit it a mile in the air to get. If you can get backspin and learn to get backspin on the ball's going to take off. And that's what we did last year, and we got better throughout the year. Jason Neff was our third or fourth catcher until our two catchers went out for the year, and he came in and he was unbelievable. We wouldn't have been where we were without him. And so it excites us because we get him back next year. We don't have to worry about, we've got two catchers now that, have some experience. So that's a big spot for us. But, it's about trying not to strike out, put the ball in play, make the other teams field the ball, but let's drive the ball. And we're a big, strong, we're pretty big for a mid-major team. And, we think we can hit the ball out. But the biggest thing is to put the ball in play and give yourself a chance.
Tracy, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that leads me kind of to the next question, where that's kind of the old school approach, like drive the ball through the middle, it's going to go where it goes, not really worrying about this launch angle, we're just going to try to hit homers. You've watched baseball kind of change, and I want to hear kind of your perspective at the collegiate level. In your time, old school, you played with Darren's dad. You have a lot of these old Dodgers, like great teammates that were teaching you. Has the baseball actually changed, or are we just what are your thoughts on like what's happened since you've been in college to now, and how different teams are adjusting?
So I played for 14 years. I managed in the minors for 8, and this will be my 17th year in college baseball. And I don't know if we've got enough time to go over the difference in the games today. It's difficult for me sometimes to watch. My guys are all young. My pitching coach, Josh Epstein, is wonderful. This is his second year. What a difference he's made in our pitching staff and our young guys. But he calls himself a numbers nerd, and we'll sit in there and he's giving me all these numbers. Colin with my hitting is bringing me what we're hitting against a left-handed pitcher, against a breaking ball. I'm just if you can hit, you can hit. If you can throw the ball over the plate, you'll get guys out. But these numbers do help some. We don't move the shortstop all the way around the second base bag very often. Maybe once or twice a year. I hate giving up a hole, because when a young pitcher, our pitchers don't know what we're doing like a big league pitcher. If you're going to leave a wide open hole and you're going to shift and have 3 guys on the left side of the infield, our guys aren't good enough to throw the ball middle in and make them pull it. So, we've got to be very careful with that and how we're teaching it. But the analytics is a different game. The one thing that disappoints me is there's a lot of baseball guys that are not in the game anymore because of analytics. And I've had a lot of friends that have lost their jobs because they are taking the young kids from the Ivy League schools that have the analytics. And, to me, you've got to have some people that know the baseball game and understand. I mean, these old school scouts, man, that used to come around and they could pick out who can play. They can pick out this guy does this great. And I think I kind of lean on that side. And, I'm watching my son grow. He'll be a sophomore this year in high school. And, I've taught him exit velocity doesn't mean anything. We're trying to keep the bat through the zone. We're trying to make hard contact. And when you get, hopefully, my size, 6'3", and I won't say what I weigh now, but, he can be that good. And that's what I'm trying to do with him and trying to do with my players.
Interesting insights, too, and loving this conversation. And, for you to evolve as you have as a coach and yet hold on to what means most to you, Tracy Woodson, connecting with the Richmond program. I got to ask you about Alden Mathis, because I see, Hunter mentioned him, I see the offensive numbers, but then I see the pitching numbers too. And I'm intrigued. I find myself intrigued. And it's not, Tracy, it's not 5 innings. It's not like he helped you out. It was 43 impactful innings. Who is this young man out of Pennsylvania?
So, Darren, I'm going to be honest with you. He's probably one of the best two-way guys in the country. He was drafted in the 19th round. But he got drafted because of analytics numbers. They really hadn't seen him play. He's a double major in business here at Richmond, and the degree here at Richmond is it's like an Ivy League degree. He decided to come back, which is huge for us. But I think this guy's going to get a chance next year. Somebody's going to take a chance on him. So he was our Sunday starter last year, and he had a little bit of, I don't know what it is exactly. So his elbow was bothering, but after a few days, he would the pain or whatever it was, soreness, would go away. But we shut him down for like almost 6 weeks, and we brought him back into the bullpen for our run at the end of the year, and he was closing. And that's what we're going to do with him this year. We started him on Sunday so we could let him play Friday and Saturday and not use his arm up on he's a Friday night guy, really. You're looking at 88 to 92 from the left side. Good feel for a changeup. He's got a big hammer, and he's got the guts. There's other words you can use for him. Hunter, you know those words we use. He is the guy you want at the plate. He's the guy you want on the mound. He's one of the few guys, when I go out, they know they're coming out of the game. And Alden looks me in the eye and says, "You're not taking me out right now." I turn around and I walk away.
Hell yeah.
And I used to watch that with Hershiser. Whenever I was in the game, I always went to the mound in the minor leagues and the big leagues because I wanted to hear what was going on. I knew I wanted to coach. I wanted to hear when they were joking, when they were being serious. And Ron Peronowski came out, before he stepped on the top of the rubber, Hershiser said, "I'm not coming out." And he patted him on the rear. He said, "That's what Tommy wanted to hear." And he turned around and walked away. And Alden would tell me, and I know when Alden's serious too. He wants the ball. He wants to stay on there. If he's at a certain number of pitches, we will take him out. I've always said I'm not hurting a guy here at the college level to win a baseball game. But I know my guys, and I know when they're serious about wanting the ball or wanting to be at the plate. I want my guys to embrace. I always said I want to be at the plate with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and that's what I want my guys here to be in that situation as well.
Boy, great answer and learning about that young man. I wanted to kind of jump back on a subject you touched on earlier, and that was your journey through the A-10 tournament. It was bookend losses to VCU, the first one heartbreaking to push you into the loser's bracket. But then Rhode Island, George Mason, St. Louis, Davidson, they all fell. You beat them all. Foundationally, how important was that run last year?
It was huge for us. The biggest thing was watching another team, like I said before, watching another team celebrate on the field. After the first game, we had almost made the comeback, and we had the winning run on base in the first game against VCU, and they were really good. But we knew we could play with them, and I came to them after the game. I said, "All right, guys, we've got to win like 6 games in 4 days or whatever the number was." And I said, "It's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to tell you what. Starting tomorrow, we're going to come out like it's going to happen, and we're going to do it 1 game at a time. I don't want to be cliche." But I said, this is what we're going to do. And we pitched, we hit, we had freshmen that did not get many innings that we had to use, and they all performed. So in that sense, these guys got valuable experience. And those are kids that we weren't necessarily looking for to maybe come back this year if we had veteran arms, and now we know we can use them. And it was a great run. It was heartbreaking at the end because you're talking about Jason Neff. He caught 6 games or whatever it was, and in the 4 days, every day he came off the field, he was just soaked. And I went to him one day. I said, "Are you going to be all right? I can give you a game." He said, "Absolutely not." He goes, "I'm in for the long haul on this one." And he kept hitting. I mean, he kept, it was a great run for us. It really was.
Tracy, that's a beautiful story, and I got to say, that speech you talked about earlier in this conversation about how you said, "Hey, look, we watched them celebrate. Like, let's go out in the summer and let's get after it." Remember that coming back to next year, because I'll credit losing in 2011 with the Phillies, how much that fueled me in 2012, even though I got traded to the Giants. Having that kind of purpose and feeling into that pain and remembering that pushes you so far. So I think that's amazing what you said to them, giving them that sense of purpose in the offseason. And I just want to hear, because you're following all these guys on the computer in the summer, and you had a couple guys step up and that long run back to get to the championship. Who have you seen this summer that like the numbers have just been like, whoa, this is like a dark horse that might surprise a lot of people, that's made some adjustments? Who are you like really excited to see coming back on campus?
Well, there's a number of them, but Vinny Corso is one. He pitched a few innings during the season. He's 92 to 93, but he gets into a game. He's just he's a little wild at times, and we had to start it. We had to start him in one of the games at the end of the year, and he went 4 innings for us, and we brought him off the field and said, "That's it." I wanted to get some experience and my veteran guys in after that, and he was ecstatic. But he went out this summer. He pitched great. Jake Michael is one that did not even make our roster for the tournament. You can only play with 27 once our conference tournament starts, and he was a big name coming out of high school. He was on the draft boards. He was he touched 94, 95, but just could not throw strikes. And we said this is going to be a big summer. And we threw him in the Northwoods League, which is probably a little bit higher than we really wanted to. But he went up there and he had some really good outings. He had a couple where he struggled, but I think he found, and a lot of it for him is mound presence. Don't look like don't look like you're beat already on the mound. Go out there with conviction and a little bit of confidence. And so we saw that. So, like you guys said earlier, man, we've got everybody back but one guy offensively. So, these young kids that are on the mound are going to be big pieces for us. If we're going to win, we have to pitch.
Tracy, thank you so much for your time. Have a great fall. Have a great spring. We look forward to connecting soon. It's been selfishly for me with losing my father. It's always wonderful to reconnect to his old teammates. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I loved Darren. I loved your father, man. Tried to help me as much as he could in a short period of time, and it was great. And I'm sorry for your loss, but man, he was awesome. And as a young kid coming up, trying to help me along the way. So thank you very much. Thanks for having me guys on here.
Yeah, awesome stuff. We also want to thank Caleb LomavIta, the great catcher out of Cal. We're here each and every week. We love this sport at the college level. Hunter Pence, Darren Sutton. We'll see you at a campus near you. This has been Perfect Game College Baseball on Perfect Game TV.